Thank you so much for the invitation. I just wanted to make sure if you hear me. Yeah, perfect. It's really wonderful to be part of this colloquium, and I am excited that Elena Yaqubee and my collaborator, one of my collaborators in this project, is also here with us. I'm going to share with you about the project Arts into Acts. I will speak about the ethics of care and my concept of care, but also really take time to document grassroots initiatives of care that started from young people, often in very difficult conditions, like in the camp, one of the big camps of the island, Moria camp. You might have heard about it. And as Annette said, I will use a spatial perspective. I will focus on space through my presentation, and I will try to bring together insights from psychology, from sociology, from drama therapy, and human geography, using different disciplines. Parallel to my research, actually before my research, and one of the reasons that I ended up doing it was that I was working as a performance activist in different refugee camps in Greece and in different places in Europe for 7 years. And through this experience, I got to know many young people that were creating projects, artistic projects, and collaborated closely with them. And then it was in spring 2016 that you might have heard there were the first cases of young people committing suicide in refugee camps. One was in Athens and another was in Chios. And with the people that I was working with that were from Syria at that point, they asked me if I could invite our international community to help. And we started together a series of conferences and festivals called Play, Perform, Learn, Grow that have happened 5 times since then. That is completely grassroots and funded by just the people who come. And this experience of sustaining a grassroots initiative really impacted my reflections on this project that I will share with you now. So starting from space, Lesvos is a Greek island which is on the border with Turkey. Has anyone been in Lesvos? Okay, great. And it has become a passage point for millions of refugees since 2015. And the responses of the locals were ranging, sometimes being welcoming and in solidarity, and sometimes being quite conflicted to the point that there were also nationalistic attacks and riot police attacks. I will share more about that later. So the focus of my presentation will be care, and I will use as a guide this definition of care by Toronto and Fisher as a species of activity that includes everything that we do to maintain, contain, and repair our world so that we can live in it as well as possible. That world includes our bodies, ourselves, and our environment. And it's this focus on environment that I will keep on going back to during the presentation. After I present, Elena will join us and she will perform one of her songs. And then we will invite you, for those that you wish, to also participate in a more interactive, participatory, experiential activity of creative writing. Some of the questions that I will engage during my presentation are how care intersects with space. Annette spoke about the transformative aspect of care, and this is what I will also really focus on. How care organizes and possibly transforms human relationships. So infrastructure, as Annette said, and space can organize and the relationships that are taking place, and then how those can transform through initiatives of care. What are the political and creative implications of care? If can care compensate for some aspects of human rights violations and dehumanizing legal procedures? What are the limitations of care, and if care can also be romanticized? And how ethics of care can be practiced in a research framework. This is part of the context that we will focus on. The harsh living conditions in Lesvos became even harsher during COVID. And partly the Greek state got more legitimized to militarize Moria camp. It's the photo that you see here in the middle. This was the condition of the camp in the midst of COVID. And many of the organizations who could access the camp could not after a while. And we were just discussing about this with Elena and Annette before the session, that people could go out of the camp only 3 hours per week at a time that was allocated to them, and that if they defied that, they would have to pay 300 euros as a fine. So their accessibility to the town of Mytilene got very much restricted during times of COVID. There were also cases of nationalistic extremist movements. What I didn't mention, I think it's important in terms of the context, is that since 2009, as many of you might know, Greece has been struggling with financial crisis, and the scarcity of resources really pushed many of the locals and their living conditions. So there were different nationalistic movements and riot police attacks. And the pushbacks that have been happening, and the experience is part of my project. What I experienced through the interviews is that many people have been through processes of pushbacks. Some of them had to come 40 times from Turkey to Greece in order to be able to reach the land of Lesvos. And this is an experience that has been denied that this is happening. So in response to all of these violations, human rights violations, there were also acts of care and solidarity. The first photo is from some elderly women in Mytilene. We call them Yayades in Greek, and they try to organize support movements for refugees and to take care of children. In 2016, there was the possibility to nominate Greek citizens for the Nobel Peace Prize. And then there was another initiative that I was particularly involved with, the PICPA Open Refugee Camp. This was created in 2012 until 2020. It was founded by 4 women who occupied part of the empty structures of a camp that was there, and really through the values of solidarity, they created a camp that was open. It became quite popular, and I think they have close links also with Germany. I don't know if has anyone heard about this? No. So I will speak more today about grassroots initiatives and rights claims, acts of care that we initiated were by young people in Moria camp, and then they grew out of it to the town and to other places in Greece and in Europe. The first photo is from Goethe Theatre, which was organized in Moria camp and by a theatre director who organized people to present through theatre their experiences of traveling through the sea. The second is from Rad Music International, another initiative that brought people together through music and dance in the camp, and then became a legal organization which was placed in Mytilene, in the town of Mytilene. And the last photo is from Elena's video that she will share with us later. Her song My Dreams Still Fly, that she wrote while she was living in Lesvos. And through this video you will be able also to see some aspects of how it was to live there. So this is the research project. It started in 2019 until 2023, Arts into Acts, and the topic is how to create stages with young people, refugees, asylum seekers and locals in Lesvos, negotiating, bordering, belonging and citizenship processes through creative and digital methods. My initial plan when I started the research was that the field work would have taken 6 months. It actually took more than 2 years. And it took me 4 months just to be able to connect with people that were living there, especially refugees, because of all of these borders. It was many of the plans that I had from the beginning of the research really were thwarted by the experience of being in Lesvos, and my initial collaborations changed. I was planning to collaborate with the university and different NGOs there. These collaborations, it was not possible for them to happen, also because of the highly volatile climate that I described and polarized. And I created new collaborations with the young people themselves and organizations that were led by young people. So I did 27 interviews, participatory observation of 10 months in Mytilene. We did a digital group with 8 people. Elena was also part of it. And we started in December 21 until February 22. We started in Mytilene, and by the point that the group ended, we were in Greece, in France, in UK, in Germany. So as it happened digitally. All the group followed people as they were migrating to other countries. We did many public events in collaboration with Goethe University, Aristotle University, and many other organizations and universities, and a digital performance which was organized with 10 people and attended by 135 people from 35 different countries. I will show you later a video that we created together to document the work and to promote the performance. And what happened through this performance that actually really shaped the project later on was that people participated as artists. So using their art, they really both represented their initiatives, but also creatively interpreted the material from the interviews. And that's how we are creating the next steps, collaborating as we go along. The people that I worked with were different ages, from 19 until 32, men and women from very different countries: Afghanistan, Pakistan, Congo, Iraq, Iran, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Greece. Different legal status that also changed as the research was happening through the process of migrating and going to different countries. And the methods that I used were participatory action research, creative mixed methods, drama therapy, and performance activism. And my analysis was more focused on an ethnographic perspective that looks at space, the intersection between space and social and creative and political relationships, how those intersect. So here is the video that we created, and I want to share it with you.
As a woman, you are a part of the man. But here, women have rights, and I want to see you like this, my girl.
We were the only media in the camp, and we were the ones who were leaving, and the ones recording it.
I learned the world through my music.
We organized a demonstration that became a concert.
My sister helped capturing to photography the moments, saving things that's happening to people in the history.
I have gotten to know people instead of being scared.
The biggest art that we can make is in our daily life.
Because the circumstances are not easy. We are making art to make life acceptable enough to pass it. That's the main art, I think, and I'm good at it.
I always find it hard to talk after this video. But I'm not going to play it again. How do I say it? Okay, yeah, thank you. I think this gives more an understanding of what I was saying, grassroots creative acts and spaces of care that were instigated in the camp by the young people themselves, not only young people, of course. So I'm going to focus now on a specific one of these initiatives, RAD initiative that brought together people through music and dance, and then later on also Elena through her voice, and she will share her experiences of what she created and how this has grown. So this is a testimony that was shared by the founder of RAD. I'm in the place of a desert, there is nothing. After they put me, I will die, I said. No one cares. It's really hot and no one cares. We need to approach these people. I go close. Don't worry, it's very hard, but look at these people. They spent years in the prison, they survived. It was the time to bring people together. Since I was playing music, they were dancing. We organized concerts and dances. The fights started to decrease. So what started as a small initiative in the camp gradually created different spaces of care and repair through music events, dance events, community events that continue to go back to the camp and to support people there even after the initiative itself moved to the town of Mytilene. And through the support also of locals, what was created was a legal organization and an entity when the person that found it was himself, did not have a legal status yet. Unfortunately, now he has. This is a testimony from one of the volunteers who is Greek, and she took part in the activities and she taught English. They're meeting people from different cultures. I wanted to go out with them, but they did not have the opportunity to come with me because they did not have enough money. They could not find a job here. One time we went for breakfast and I was thinking, why I cannot have this every day? I wanted to do a master's at criminology, but now I want to do a master's at human rights because the rights are eradicated. I cannot understand why I can do some things and they cannot do the same things as me. Now I care. So she shared how getting to know people and creating friendships really transformed her life experience and her career plans for the next steps, but also just this experience of being together had a bigger impact on her than seeing people in Moria camp or seeing people really suffering. It was somehow something that was close to her. It was one of her friends that was going through this. As I said before, the acts of care and the creative acts were initiated and growing against many kinds of borders, both the physical border of Moria camp, the social and the political border, and the fact that the camp itself is operating at the borders of humanity. Yuval Davis says that what is happening to those who do not belong, they can become completely invisible. We talk about the border as a firewall. Artistic creation in those ways was the only means for political participation, to be able to represent lived experience and to not have it spoken by others that usually have not actually lived in the camp themselves. And networks of care started as a response to dehumanizing conditions, and going back to what Annette said, they transformed physical, social, and political spaces. In this case, the act and the network of care crossed the border from the camp to the city, impacting also the lives of locals. I think one of my important aspects in my research was also to look not only at the political value and the social value of acts of care and creative initiatives, but also at the investments they required and how they were mobilized by affects, and they really needed different physical, financial, and material investments. So people might have created really powerful initiatives that impacted the lives of others, but they still struggled with survival issues and with precarity. And I think this is important in order to refrain from romanticizing creative acts and care, to continue going back to the context and to the everyday life of people who initiate these networks, and the conflict between the infrastructure and the structures they live and what they try to create in response. So I thought would be to try to understand how it would be a world if we start listening all these grassroots initiatives and bringing them up on policy level or on the way that infrastructures work, instead of trying to create them in the gaps of those. How could we, if these worlds were more like interacting? This was part of the group that we had, Arts into Acts Creative Group, and in a way I think we created stages and care, as one of the participants said, the way threads make a scarf. We were meeting online for 3 months every week as people's life was changing and as they were moving to different countries, and the language that we used was language of imagination, of poetry, of photography, building also on what people wanted to share during the sessions. So this was a collage that we made to represent the different belongings of people. I asked them what belonging is for them, and they chose a photo, and then we made a collage with it. And this was part of the session plan, and how to, I used also dramatherapy and psychology in building the sessions and the structure. And this was a poem that we made inspired by the images of belonging. A fire around a fireplace, not mine but a friend's, better than mine, on a night full of warmth. The most amazing, the most imposing, the most mysterious, the biggest is a human that is constructed to walk, a human that is tied with chains. You can already see how the difference in the language brings another way of talking about it, about how people lived in the camps and how locals responded to it, perhaps a way that it's more tuned to the imaginaries of the young people themselves. At some point in the group, we started talking about the moon, and most people did not like the word citizenship, which is a word that I was using because of my research. They said that citizenship reminds them of asylum rejections and offices and someone else deciding if they can stay somewhere or not, and borders. So we started creating new kinds of language to represent this migration experience, and land was very important and moon was important. And one of our participants shared a poem that he created and how important was the moon for him while he was crossing borders. He said, "The little shiny ball that walked with me when I was passing the borders or when I was sleeping on the rooftop of my house, the moon, the little shiny ball, my safe home." And what people did in response, they started sending images of the moon. We had an asynchronous chat. So the moon became almost like a symbol that we can all see it differently, but it's still the same, depending on where we are. And then we supported each other, and particularly this person who is also a landscape photographer, to create his own exhibition in collaboration with a university, where this poem that started in his phone maybe, and then moved to the group space through the university, like now, it moved to a much more public space. And impacted also and helped people understand through an experiential perspective these processes of migration. We also followed through the group the migration of one of our participants to France, from Greece to France. She said, "The first thing that I will buy in France is a printer. I want to print Rumi. I don't want to read Rumi anymore on my phone." And then she said how important it was for her to stay connected with us as her life was completely transformed. We actually found her on Google Maps while she was, and we tried to see what is around her, because she spoke with us, I think, 2 days after she relocated in this new place in France. So So the group became a network of care, following people as they traveled, becoming an anchor at some points, and care was built and reimagined as the group was changing. It was really interweaved with how the group was working. Opportunities for cultural exchange challenged stereotypes and initiated personal relationships. For some of the people that participated in the group, the local citizens, they were living close to people who had the experience of forced migration. They were refugees or asylum seekers, but they have never spoken with them. And the first time they actually met someone with these experiences was in the group space. This also to speak about borders and how invisible they are, and then so much occupying space. These are some of the reflections. I was living in Iran, in Turkey, in Greece, and I didn't feel belonging. I'm trying to convince myself that this is planet Earth, I am from here and I belong here, and that's how I felt in the group. We were in different places, in different countries, and we all belonged to each other. And then another woman from Greece, she said, I got to know about citizenship through people's lives than a newspaper. After that, I cared. So our language was a language created through shared imagination and shared knowledges. As people got into the group, they didn't know who was a refugee and who was a local. They started building personal relationships and friendships, and then they started understanding how many different accessibility to resources and privileges they had according to the legal status. And we started also providing support for people to initiate and to sustain their own acts, drawing resources from the group, to the point that we did the public event, which I shared with you before. And now I'm going to adopt a more critical perspective, speaking about romanticizing before. I'm going to speak about who was absent when all the group was present and the people that could not be accessed. While the group was happening, I was speaking with one of the friends, the people staying in the camp, who said, I saw my friends living one by one, staying here in my tent with 3 rejections of asylum. The food is horrible. Sometimes I eat salad, especially mayo. It keeps me full. Many of my friends self-harm with knives or take drugs to forget. When the pain is too much, I go to my bed, hug my body, and cry for hours to not self-harm. I don't have the energy to be part of a group. And what he did was to choose to come to a public event that we organized, and he said that this was the first time that he was actually participating in an event with others since he got into the camp. So some critical perspectives. For many of the people that I collaborated with, arts were not luxury. It was a means of survival and of staying alive in conditions that were very harsh. At the same time, creative methods, I experienced that they can be quite elitistic, and the importance of having basic needs met, or to create ways of research that hold this tension between the pragmatic and the poetic aspects of life, and the collaboration with local organizations that they can support basic needs, psychological needs, while the research is happening. As I said, refraining from romanticizing acts and grassroots networks of care through ethnographic approach of analysis, documenting both the inspiring initiatives but also the life conditions, and continuing to go back to how people live. And a possible limitation is the possibly cyclical nature of the research, if the research appealed to people who were already drawn to arts or wanted to come closer either to locals or to refugees. And what I did in response to mitigate that was to make additional interviews with people that were either not drawn to arts or they had more conflicted relationships with locals or refugees. The question if care is exclusive and what is the edge of care, and for that the action reflection cycle of participatory action research was very important to continue go back and to see what is not on stage, what is the methodology hides, not only reveals. If care and creativity were glossing over privilege and conflict and the need for difficult conversations, we started having those only later in the group, and I think more time was needed for people to create the trust to start really sharing what this difference in privilege meant. It meant concretely that some of the group's participants could travel easily, others through relocation process or had to go through the whole asylum process in the new place before getting their papers. And some of our participants could not travel at all. They were in Lesvos, waiting for after 4 or 5 rejections of asylum to get papers. I will speak a little bit about the ethics of the research and the ethics of care. Lesvos was a particularly and is over-researched field, so a fragile context where there is unequal distribution of resources, social goods, and various forms of discrimination. And for that, it was very important to have collaborations with local organizations and guides to co-design the research plan with people who lived there and to really plan the next steps together. The power dynamics, the diverse legal statuses, and the access to the resources. My psychological background helped, I think, in order to create processes, for instance, making an interview and the possible re-traumatization and how to support memories that were emerging for people and how to support, to contain those feelings and as how to go, to which extent to speak about them, and then how to provide local support through the organizations, local psychological support. The importance of reciprocity and trying to create processes of research that are not extractive, which value and who decides about the value and the ethics. There were the different ethics of the ethics committee, of my ethics as the researcher, but also all the ethics of young people who wanted the research to be of value to them. So we tried to create ways of research that would bring back value to what they are creating. And so care became a process involving informing and transforming relationships. We tried to create alternatives to extractive research to build long-term relationships among us as we were changing places and countries, to create research that is reciprocal, and to create stages from private to public domains, from local to international. Some of the benefits of the research was that it made visible bordering practices, citizenship acts, and networks of care hidden in neighborhoods and camps of Lesvos. It created stages for artistic and political participation, stages for refugees and locals to meet. As I said, some people have never met locals with the refugees, even if they lived close next to each other, and stages for transversing private and public domains, trying to amplify the rights claims of the participants, and to create stages for people to participate to the extent they wished. So this theme of stages became very central. Stages of artistic and political participation, stages across private and public domains, stages and steps in claiming rights that might never be fully attained, and also the intersection of local and global stages, especially since we started traveling, and what is not on stage, what is unseen, the ruptures and the repairs of the research plan. So what we are organizing now is events in Lesvos and in London, and different invited lectures and international events, creating stages together, and also to start looking at how participation in these events might create a different language to speak about the so-called refugee crisis through more connection with affects and lived experiences than opinions, I'm pro or I'm against, or what does this mean. And this is the question that I would like to finish with, how participatory action research can create stages to document, amplify, and inspire acts of care. And I think the role of the university in this can be crucial, making like this almost bridge between people who have the lived experience and publics, and also people who have the lived experience and policymakers to bring these worlds closer. And I mean, most of the people that I worked with since 2016 said that they came to Europe in order to have an education. And I think there is so much more that can be done in this, in creating initiatives that will create spaces of care. Yes, so that was my presentation.
could be here to play, to add more colors, to play solo here with his electric guitar. But I'm happy that today I'm in a university. There's something new in my life. I never experienced it. And now I'm getting a bit warm, because when I arrived here I felt a bit cold, because, as I said, it's something new for me. So thanks a lot, Elena, for giving this opportunity. Thanks to all of you. And yeah, I wrote this song when I was living on Lesvos Island, and you saw different images from Lesvos Island through Elena project. And I don't know, I wrote these lyrics that was stuck in my mind, and I wanted to bring it out through an instrument, through my voice, even though I'm not really a professional artist, but I felt good with that, to bring out all those stuck emotions and fears that I was living there for months and years since I left Afghanistan. So I wrote this song, and it was really a special feeling for me to record it, not even in a studio, in a simple room that some volunteers helped me from different countries, Spain, and but with nothing less we could make something. And that's the life, that sometimes you don't need a lot of things to complete something, so you can make something from maybe nothing. And so that was really precious for me. So that was the first song that emerged in Lesvos about refugees' life, when you experience all those tough paths, staying in darkness, waiting behind the barbed wires for days and weeks, walking a lot, and again the police deported you back and they kick you out with their shotguns and everything. So until you implore a lot sometimes, and if they already have kind heart, they accept you, but if you face a cruel person, so you will experience really something unbearable. But this was something emerged, this song, and from this song almost 8 songs came, and this was the sparkling, should I talk more? Okay. So that was the sparkle, and then when Taliban took over Afghanistan on August 15, 2021, I was really sad. I could not believe it. So I didn't know what should I do, and I made a demonstration on the street on Safo Square in Mytilene. Even though I was a refugee and I had a lot of problems, but I want to do something for the people that maybe have more problems in my country than me. And yeah, people gathered and we were shouting against those extremes that maybe we can do something, but they are still there. They are oppressing women, and women cannot do anything, even going to school, even going out for a walk. So that's a nightmare. Sometimes I have even their dreams that they're calling me. So another song emerged from August 2021. Behind each song there's a reality, and that song was called Whirling, that I made with my partner Joel. And that song has choreography, everything that represents the tough life of women in Afghanistan. And then we say that it's not enough, we need to do more. And we start to make a performance together, and this performance called 34 Afghan Windows. And this performance made of 9 songs with storytelling, theater, video. And we could perform it in some countries in Europe, Spain, Denmark, again in Italy, and then again in Bremen. London, Lesvos, so we are really happy that we are improving, and so hopefully we can play for you one day here, because when we are together and me and Joel and play together, it's more intense, and because we completed each other with his musical composition and my lyrics and melody, is much more powerful. So 34 Afghan Windows reflects Afghan women, the bitter reality that is going on in Afghanistan, and the beauty that is hidden with that darkness and oppression. It reflects those beauty that is hidden and no one knows what, and maybe some people don't know what Afghanistan is. When we played for the first time in Copenhagen, people really didn't know what's going on. So with this action, we would like to kind of awaken people and cultivate the seed of humanity wherever we can. Thank you. From the sorrow and pain of Borka to the smile of blue kite. From the high Hindu Kush mountains to the pure Mediterranean sea. we sing our melodies and we play for freedom. Unveiling those forgotten stories in each corner of the world. So that one day, everyone will embark on the journey of liberation. Suddenly